All right, we'll go.
Hello, and welcome to 97.9 Unity Radio, the best political talk show, not only in Worcester, but all of Massachusetts. And with me today, as always, my co-host and cohort, the voice of reason, self-proclaimed, Frank Cristiano. Frank?
You guys, you gave me that moniker.
I did not. At
Oh,
all.
you just co-signed it.
I did not. No, I didn't co-sign it either.
No.
And the man whose beard was too distracting for our viewers, David Schuman, who is shaved, freshly shaved to make everyone happy. David, hello.
Hello. How's everything going?
We have a special Rebel Republic for everyone after last night's vice presidential debate.
Speaking of Rebel for a second, don't you love how right now it looks like we're in prison? It's the background, the brick background right here.
Yeah, I like it.
It's fantastic.
I love it. Looks cool.
I thought it was a nice layout. And,
nice little touch.
You know,
this is my comedy club. So this is actually we're set up on the stage where we actually do live shows.
Yeah,
that's cool. I like that.
I wanted.
That's where you should do a lot of your podcasts.
Yeah. When we come here, we like to do that.
Unless I'm here to welcome him, he's been banned from this shop, but there's no way to get in. So that's exactly.
Well, I come in plenty of times, and I eat very well, and I give you a lot of business. So I think that has to count for something.
Sure.
But after last night's debate, Frank, everyone pretty much thought Mr. J.D. Vance should be president, not only vice president. They said that he could be the president with the way he performed. He completely dominated last night. And what were your thoughts?
I disagree on that because 50% of the country still thinks that Tim Walz won, or at least did very well in that debate, because they approach it from the fact that they hate the presidential candidate. So all the baggage comes along with them. The other half, and maybe slightly more because it seems like more independent voters, when polled, understood the calm, the cool, collective answers and topics that J.D. Vance had brought up throughout the entire interview. That, right now, even if Donald Trump would take another bullet and unfortunately not be able to finish his campaign out, I think the rest of the GOP supporters would be very comfortable with J.D. Vance as the presidential candidate or as the president of this country, because they see that is more of the how do they call statesman side and the political smoothness of answers. And actually he did a great job of deflecting anything that was coming at him by constantly not blaming Tim Walz, not blaming the Democratic Party, blaming Kamala Harris for all the problems that have been brought in over the last 3.5 years.
Well, I think she's to blame for all the problems because she knew that the president was derelict and incompetent and allowed it to go on. So that's a huge problem.
She's not kind of in charge of. She doesn't make that decision per se, because
if you talk to her,
would look as if she's advancing herself, pushing him out of the way directly. The way they did it is probably how they had to do it. Is push him out of the way. The powers that be, the Democrat Party had to push him out, but which is corrupt in itself. A whole corrupt process.
They knew for years. They knew for years.
But I thought that, I mean, I got to see pieces of it. I didn't, really watch the whole entire thing. But J.D. Vance really represents himself excellent. I mean, he's a military guy. He has the ability to come across fantastically. And I think what Frank brought up is a great point. He focused the attack on Kamala in the sense that she's running for president. She's the one that did have certain responsibilities within her role as vice president, and she failed at those responsibilities. Miserably. And now we expect her to go and succeed and move forward as a president who's already failed as a vice president. Nobody in her own party wanted her to be the presidential candidate 6 months ago, and now she is. So I think he was able to really point it out. I think that's an important thing that a lot of people don't focus on in the vice presidential debate is the person that's actually running for office that most people know to be the person that's going to be in charge is the president, right? So Trump versus Kamala Harris, and by JD Vance focusing most of that at Kamala, I thought was a very, very good strategy because there's a lot you could point to. And Walz, obviously, there's a lot you could point to with him within his own governorship. He created the chaos.
Let it go
during 2020.
Burn, baby, burn.
Yeah. So there's a lot you could point to there, but he's not actually going to be the president. So I thought that was a pretty good strategy, and I think that JD Vance did a really good job of that. I mean, I really like the way he is. He's got a tremendous backstory, and both of success and tragedy, and Walz is just to me another socialist agenda plant. Well, this is always, I know, I got it. You want them to all be communist.
The Democrats are communists now.
See, but the problem is this: when you say communist, you make it where they can defend it and say socialism is a better thing than communism. You're putting socialism on a pedestal above communism as this is better alternative than communism, right? And so, when you get the young people who are trying to figure these things out, they probably think that too. Socialism is a better alternative to communism. And if you say they're communists when they actually, they may be communist, they may be their leanings that far, but they're going to say socialism. And I think we want to point out that socialism is really a problem. It would be a problem in America going forward, as far as a policy for the country.
I equate it this way. I look for leadership. Leadership evolves to me and shows in presence, in your presence, in your capability to not only answer questions, but to be a leader, to be able to direct, to be able to be a presence when you walk into the room, to command an audience, right? That would be what I'm looking for. So when I watched the debate last night, I saw one guy commanding the audience and directing with explicit language, very direct and very concise language. And then I saw another guy who looked like a deer in the forest when they're going to take a drink of water, and then they pop up real quick because they think someone's going to jump out of the woods and attack them. And that's kind of what Walz looked at.
He's not a leader.
Well, he looked nervous, jumpy, constantly writing down little note points to be able to counterpoint whatever JD Vance was putting out there. So, and then I'm watching talk shows. And, oh my God, I flew to MSNBC and CNN to see what the reactions were, and they weren't positive. Many on the left realized that Walz looked very non-composed. He looked nervous.
Even on the View.
Yeah, a lot of his, some things he did narrow his stance and his answers down to, which were good, and people wanted that. But most of the stuff was so generalized and so open scoped that it's very hard to be able to put your faith behind that, And it was CNN, and the two commentators were talking and go, "Wow, it just looks like he was so unprepared. He hasn't gone out and done any talks. This is the second time he's been in front of the media to actually do some kind of a Q&A, besides the one time he was holding Kamala's hand. And then the other commentator on the station said, he wasn't unprepared. The other commentator says he was overprepared. They must have pumped so much knowledge into him. He was overprepared. How can you be overprepared? If you're overprepared, you're ready to run. You're the union boss. You're the guy, right? You're ready for anything. That didn't translate last night.
Dave, this shirt I wear, it's for my favorite blogger. His name is Turtle Boy, Aidan Carney. He's in Worcester, Massachusetts. He's the only conservative blogger in Massachusetts. And Turtle Boy says that all Democrats are communists. And that's why I say it. I adopted from Turtle Boy, because he says they're so far left now that they're not even socialists, they're communists. That's what he believes.
That may be true, but the first war is socialism. because
So
that's the impetus to get. If they're not going to. America's not going to just jump to communism. America will jump to socialism before they jump to communism. It's going to be a progression, right? I mean, think about your healthcare plan since Obamacare came out, right? First, it was let's push forward the healthcare plan. Everyone will get covered. Everyone will have the ability to get covered. Your costs will rise. Then they get it pushed through. Then your costs rise. Then you can't see your own the provider you want. It's everything's a progression with them. It's one step that leads to step 5. And that's how they operate everything they do, because you have, in order for it to get pushed through, you got to get it through the cloak of undercover,
Dave, it sounds like the steps of being a child predator.
Oh, yeah.
We slowly ease you in. We make friends. We feed you. We bring you around. Clothe you. We take you to events. We stroke you. We make everything look really good before we throw a garbage bag over your head and throw you into the back of a van.
But Kamala's values haven't changed. You have to remember that.
Yes, I know. If you
forgetting if she has her values.
If 180 degrees means you haven't changed, then we don't understand the direction.
Well, she changed some of her policies.
She changed all of her policies.
Her values are.
She changed all of her values with her policies.
Your
values changed. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. Donald Trump was a Democrat.
She's middle class.
Was loved by everyone. Gave away a lot of money. Was at all the African American rallies. Was beloved by the black community. Next thing you know, he turns Republican and he wants to, tighten things up a little bit. And now he's a racist. He's Hitler, Mussolini. He's a dictator. He's going to change the Constitution. Yes. All of a sudden, one guy is going to come in and change the Constitution.
He is.
Right. Which is unfathomable.
They're scared of abortion.
Impossible. Yeah. Impossible. So you got to realize, you got to take everything with a grain of salt. I thought this was a great step in momentum back towards the Republican side. I thought it eases Republican voters' blood pressure a little bit, because you've had a wave of the last month of the circle Woodstock festival kind of atmosphere with the Kamala Harris rallies, and you see more than 5 people showing up to these functions now, which normally they'd only get 5 or 10 people to show up, and all of a sudden they're filling arenas because basically they're paying people. If you don't know this, you can go get your preloaded Visa card when you go to some of these rallies. It's so I mentioned this before, Dave. I mentioned this before. The DNC is much more creative in spending their political cash than the RNC is.
Well, I want to get paid to go to
no
a
doubt
rally.
About it.
If they're going to pay me, if they're going to pay me to go to a rally, I'll go.
Why would you go to? You're going to sit there and do what?
You're going to go to a Democrat rally?
I want to ask questions.
You're going to. Oh yeah, you're going to be in row Z.
I want to ask
against the wall, and you're going to ask. You're going to ask questions.
Well, I want to know about our values.
They're not going to let you listen
because they haven't changed.
They're not going to let you in anyways in the beginning, because they know you're the greatest conservative podcast host, show, talk guy ever.
Oh,
so if anything, they're going to be throwing 2 oranges back at him right there. They're going to chuck a couple oranges at him, right?
You're going to throw
absolutely. Right? Well, yeah. I mean, if you had gotten this stuff done earlier, we wouldn't have to chuck oranges at you.
Okay.
Yeah. How about that one right there? Yeah, Dave. Yeah.
Does Kamala come to New York at all? Will she speak in New York?
I don't think she is. Who knows? I don't know what her travel agenda is, but well, listen, this is where she doesn't need to be. This is a favorable state for the Democrats, so it's not like she really has to put any rallies here.
And that was one of the questions that we had that came from Worcester. From Peter from Holden, I think it is Holden in Worcester. You're shaking your head. He said that we are the rebel republic, and we're complaining to Massachusetts about them being, such a liberal democratic state, when ourselves, New York, we're Democrats. We go that way.
Well, not where you guys are.
We're hypocrites.
No, we're not.
Where you are.
You can't lump
downstate
all the hypocrites. Yeah, he did. He said we're hypocrites.
Listen, so in New York State, Frank, correct me if I'm wrong. Albany, Saratoga area, pretty liberal. Okay. Downstate, obviously, New York City. Obviously, much more to the left. But if you go around the state, northwest, central, right, north, New York,
yeah. So
parts of Long Island,
downtown Syracuse area and Rochester area are also fall into that blue category.
Okay.
Buffalo does too a little bit. It's sort of evening out a little bit, but Buffalo will fall into that category as well. Again,
Buffalo is. I didn't know that. I always thought Buffalo was conservative.
Yeah, I did too. And then I started looking at a map, and they had that. Again, if I'm following the correct information, this is what they're saying is Buffalo too is a hub. You realize when you deal with larger inner cities, obviously the vote will sway blue for some ungodly reason, but it is what it is. But yeah, those are. But if you look at the rest of the state, you drive anywhere where there's a tree, Dave. Anywhere where there's a tree and there's a sign that says Trump 2024 on it.
Right.
So Peter, who called us hypocrites because being in New York and we're a Democratic state, we're not hypocrites.
Well, I mean, I'm in one too. I'm in New Jersey.
Yeah,
right.
Thanks. We're all.
We're not a hypocrite. There's no dotted line drawn around my house that says I have to vote a certain way. There's not just because the state is shaped one way doesn't mean that I have to pull the lever one way.
Well, I just think he's irritated that we are spewing this knowledge in Massachusetts when our own state.
It's a northeast. For the most part, it's a northeast thing. Other than maybe New Hampshire as a state, I would say my guess is New York, Maine, Rhode Island, Connecticut, New Jersey, Massachusetts, probably all I guess if I looked at it would have went for Democrats in the last election. I'm not sure about New Hampshire because that's a live free and die state, so I think it's a little more conservative. It's a lot more rural. Although Maine is rural, Maine is an interesting one because the population is really, even though it's a gigantic state, it's really centered around Portland for the most part, and maybe one other city.
Well, it's
Bangor,
Bangor,
right?
They have a lot of gay people in Maine, so I think they care more about the social issue.
You've polled people in Maine, and you know that they're gay.
You asked the gay
people go to Maine. Yeah, gay people live in Maine.
A lot of gay people. I didn't know this migration.
Yeah. You know how
it's a migration pattern.
I found this out because my parents
are gay.
Honeymooned in Algonquin, Maine.
Oh, okay. That's a nice place. I love that place.
Yeah. Well, so did I. Every year we'd go to Algonquin, Maine. And then I found out Algonquin's one of the gay capitals of the world.
Oh, it is.
I mean, so is Provincetown is too. And Mass. I mean,
they brought me there for vacation every year to
you were transitioning. They were doing a slow transition for you.
Non-binary.
Non-binary. That's a perfect spot for
you.
Well,
you're not going to be allowed to play against since you're transitioning. If you play girls volleyball after your transition, you will not be able to play against Wyoming, Southern Utah, and Utah. They will not play against transgenders.
I saw that.
I did. Really?
Yeah.
Yes, those girls have taken a stand. They will not play against trans. I don't know the schools that they were playing against that had them, but they said they will not play against teams that have transgenders.
So is it listed on the roster? Like on volleyball, does it say?
No.
That's a great question, actually. It's a good question.
But a team doesn't have to come out and say, now any of those girls.
How would you know?
I think that girl definitely is not a woman. It's a man. And maybe she is a woman. And now you're creating a whole Pandora's box of insults coming out.
That was the issue in Massachusetts because there's no boys field hockey. A lot of boys played on the field hockey team and also transgenders. And what happened was a team won 3 state titles because they had 3 boys on them.
They had co-ed field hockey?
Not co-ed. It's because there's no male field hockey offered to the boys.
Then it's co-ed.
So they said boys could play field hockey. And the teams took advantage of this. And
what state was this?
Massachusetts.
And they're telling me they don't need to be re-educated? Your guy Philip, or who's your guy?
It was Peter.
Peter
called us hypocrite.
Peter called us a hypocrite.
Yes.
Because we're trying to re-educate people to understand that you cannot put a gendered male, no matter what hormones they take or no matter how they want to change themselves visually, you cannot take a gendered male and put him on a field with a female. You just can't.
It happened in Connecticut too. If you saw
the track and field thing, I think was
track and field thing, a male transitioning broke the 100 and 400 record in the state of Connecticut, and that infuriated a lot.
Man, I missed the boat. I would have been the New Jersey, easily been the New Jersey women's record holder in multiple events.
Well, that's the thing. I was wondering, like,
easily. I was a state champion high hurdler. I would have easily been.
Events. You would be the Bruce Jenner or the Caitlyn Jenner.
Yes, I'd be the Caitlyn.
Would you transition just to be successful in sports?
Well, I don't think that's the case.
If you imagine if Bruce had transitioned, if it was today and Bruce transitioned and did the heptathlon, he would set a record that would never be broken in the history of mankind.
Caitlyn still hits a golf ball.
He could be on a box of granola.
She hits the golf ball pretty well.
Well, no, my thing is, no, I'm sure the child has not transitioned to take advantage of sports.
Well, some people.
I don't think. I agree with Frank.
I don't think so. You're not going to go through that harrowing. Look at how that's a problem too. But Leah Thomas just ended up being a swimmer, but ended up being transitioned or changed or whatever they call. I don't even know what the hell the words are anymore. But what I'm saying is, look at the mental torture and anguish. I know that they feel they're in the wrong body.
They're empowered.
Not empowered. It's just, I'm sure they feel they're in the wrong body, but I'm sure that is, whether it's perpetuated by the social media or perpetuated by people around them, or you have to be in such dire mental conflict.
But they get
to be able to change
for it. They get praise for it.
Because listen.
So if you went on Twitter and posted,
listen,
I think it's such short-term praise too. I think because I don't, listen, I don't know how they feel, so I'm not going to even guess. But
they get a lot of praise for making that decision.
The point is, when you look in the mirror, you actually haven't really become that sex in the way that you may have been thinking you would become that sex. So it is some sort of a mental derangement. I'm not saying
it's a mental health issue. Yeah,
I'm not saying they should be locked up in an institution, mental health, but I'm saying it is a mental health issue to me. I know everybody says that it's not, but to see yourself, it's not, to see yourself. And then once you do transition, I'm sure they don't see it. It's not exactly what they probably envisioned.
Correct.
In a lot of these cases, when they then see themselves, if you read about these things, when they actually then see themselves as the new sex,
right?
It's not how the vision in their head was.
No, it's not going to bring you the happiness that you expect.
Well, I don't know. I'm not sure about happiness. I mean, no matter what sex you are, I don't know how their happiness is fleeting. But I think that it's a thing where their expectation of what actually ends up happening. And that's why I think a lot of them become suicidal. They have a high suicidal rate because their satisfaction with what they did ends up being very, very low.
Like, I did all this and I just don't feel.
Yeah, because it's not exactly what you thought you were going to be looking like or acting like or sounding like or, a lot of or received as or,
And for God's sakes, look at what we're talking about.
Well, we're
talking about totally changing the physical appearance of a child or a young adult because they're not comfortable. What's comfortable? They're not comfortable in their skin. I mean, that's absurd.
But I guarantee that if you went on Facebook and said, "Hi, I'm Frank Cristiano. I found myself. I'm going to transition to be a woman," you would get praise for it on Facebook.
Of course, listen.
You'd be a hero.
I would be a hero. I'd be a social justice hero. And here's the thing, too. Praise has changed over the last 50 years. So, now if you go in and you rob a store and it's less than $1,000, we let you out. We say, good job.
No bail.
Good job. Don't do it again. You did okay. You didn't do great because you didn't get away with it, and you didn't really hurt anybody because you only under $1,000. But you know what? Don't worry. We'll see. Hopefully, we don't see you next time here. We're giving them praise. We're praising criminals.
Right.
So when does somebody do something wrong? I want to know in the mental state that this country is in right now, with half of the country just saying, "F it,
I think
where everything is okay," right?
If you're a pedophile, that's wrong. Murder.
I don't know. I don't know.
Murder can be.
They have a whole group. They have a whole group of people that believe in love with children.
Well, yeah, they love them.
And some of those in that group are supported by people that are not that, but that are compassionate, that they can't even, you can't use the word pedophile anymore. They got some new kind of moniker for it. I don't even know what the hell it is.
Yeah, that's a whole strange diatribe into like normalizing the unnormal, you know?
Yes, that's what we're doing.
Wow. Yeah, normalizing the unnormal. And you know, however you feel, and I could just tell you, just because obviously I have a younger kid, that, and my kid goes up to parochial school, but
what's a parochial school mean?
A Catholic school.
Oh, okay.
So
he said parochial several times.
It's a religious school. Yeah, it's their name.
So, but in like I know people who go to some of the public schools in the area. Some are better than others, but like you know, there's been kids that parents have come in and said, my kid thinks he's a furry, you know, and you have to welcome that. And,
yeah, you gotta be a furry. I don't mind that.
Yeah. So my kid thinks he's a furry, and then there was one where the kid thought he was a cat, and you got to have a litter box in there for milk, so we can go in the litter box. Yeah. No, I'm not kidding.
No, I've heard stories of that. I've heard stories.
So it's true, because I know people who have told me these stories about people in their So I've heard that. Now I know those are battles usually in between, you know, I don't know what the result was of those battles, but I do know that the parents wanted those things for their kids. And
right.
That is an attempt at normalizing the unnormal. I mean,
yeah. If you want to be a furry, I mean,
how stupid is that? So you're saying, hey, my son's a furry, and I'd be like, hey, you know what? That's great. Get him some help.
Yeah, no,
get him some help. But then the parents are like, what are you talking about?
Tell him he's not a furry. How about you just tell him you're
look how
not
good
a
it
furry?
looks. Look how good it looks. Come on.
You're required to put a litter box.
Come on. What are we doing?
Yeah.
What are we doing?
These stories, this is actually true. I've heard a few of these. These are actually true. And I think it went to I don't know what the result was, whether the board shot it down or not, or they allowed. I can't remember. There may have been one where they actually allowed it. So one of these things. Like a litter box.
Because you have the freedom.
They threaten to sue. They threaten to sue.
Yeah, the parents do. Yeah, they're idiots.
Yeah.
Yep.
Idiots. And that's what it is. These kids are looking at social media, and all of a sudden someone slaps a pair of cat ears and a tail on themselves, and they're a cat. And then the 14-year-old goes, you know what? I've been feeling like a cat lately too, you know? I eat hard food. I don't use the litter box yet, but geez, I can go over there. I have a cat, and we can share that. And I drink water out of the water bowl. Once in a while, they give me a little milk. I drink milk. I'm a cat.
I want to be a panda bear. I want to eat the eucalyptus leaf. Or no, that's the koala bear. I want to be a koala bear. Yeah. If I could be a furry.
Did you hear the dead air there, Dave? Did you feel the dead air right there? As he wants to be a koala bear.
We'll put you in the Himalaya. No, I'm sorry, it's Australia, the koala bear. We'll put you in Australia. We'll send you to Australia. We'll put you in the middle of the bush out there.
Yeah.
You can hang out with the koalas and the kangaroos.
You can put me in the zoo. I'd like to go in the zoo.
Yeah, perfect. We got a zoo right here in Utica. We'll put you right there.
So you're instead of Tarzan. So you said instead of aspiring to be Tarzan, who didn't want to be raised by animals, but was raised by animals,
right?
But still knew he was Tarzan, the man. They raised him. This is how the things have changed. In the old days, the animals raised Tarzan to know that he's a man.
Yeah.
If you remember the story correctly, they didn't want him to be an animal. They wanted Tarzan to become a man. It's the other way around now. It's the other way around.
Yep. Well, I always thought Tarzan would get more pussy.
Yeah, of course, King of the Jungle. Yeah. So see, I don't know where that came from, but here's so now Dave, he's going to have to change his closing moniker for the show. It's going to be take 2 bananas and throw them back at me.
Well,
because you're going to be behind a cage. You want to be in the zoo.
Eucalyptus leaves.
Yeah. I got you.
Do you think the debate last night had any impact on voters? Did it change their mind?
Yes. Yes. I think a very small faction, I think, definitely would sway back to the GOP and would probably have their minds made up. I do think that because of the I mean, really smooth talking. JD Vance, he apologized for certain things at certain times. I mean, especially for, the abortion issue. Yes, we can do better. We did leave it to the states. We feel that's the way to, but we understand gun violence. Right. When they talked about, all of a sudden they brought up the Second Amendment, I thought, oh, here we go. This is one where Walz has got him by the nut job. And all of a sudden, J.D. Vance said, yes, you know what? I'm sorry, your son, because Walz's son was not a victim. He viewed some gun violence when he was younger. And, what did J.D. Vance do? Apologize. I'm so sorry. I did not know that your son, he gave the compassionate side. Once you give the compassionate side empathy, and you suck your thumb for a little while, the Democrats calm down. Their blood pressure goes back to normal. If you don't acknowledge them and acknowledge their sorrow and pain, their blood pressure is still really high. No matter how many statins you give them, it doesn't matter. Their heart's pounding onto their chest, and they want vendetta. They want vendetta.
Give them a little more empathy then to the Democrats.
I have no empathy because the same crap that they're going through, I'm going through in one way or another. So pull yourself up by your bootstraps, whatever moniker you want to use to be on the right side. That's what you got to do. You got to tighten it up a little bit. You know what I mean? Hit the gym a little bit more.
Right.
Drink a little less coffee and get it going. But they don't want that. And I think last night though, the answers that JD Vance gave and the way he gave them, I think really cemented some voters we're on the fence. I don't think there's many. They're on the fence that they will swing to the GOP.
Yeah, Dave, I thought he had confidence.
They're saying in some states it's as little as 20,000 voters going in one direction or the other. So it really isn't that. That's why these things are so important. Obviously, the people that are entrenched, and that's pretty much it. But the ones that are those 20 to 30,000 in each state are literally the difference between one side winning or the other. But I thought there were some funny memes that ran around. I don't know if you saw any of the memes, but there's a meme that JD Vance and Walz on it, and it said. JD Vance, I respect the men I served with, and I'm friends with them. And then it has Walz, and he said, I lied about the men I served with and friends with school shooters.
Wow, that's powerful, right there.
He knows a school. He knew a school shooter. That person ended up being a school shooter, and the whole thing with that. But it's very interesting the different. You're right about it. The way JD Vance approached it was, I think, really good. I think he learned from a lot of the other things that went forward, and he balances Trump's ticket very well. I wasn't, I wasn't sure about it, right, with him. Not who he was, but I didn't know if he was a good balance for the ticket. He really balances with his personality and his style very, very well, because Trump is bombastic. He's in your face. JD Vance has that ability, absolutely, but like you said, he's well-spoken, empathetic, understanding, and at the same time, obviously, still tough in the things that he needs to be tough.
It's Batman and Robin.
He showed that side too, Dave, in the debate, because at one point they were talking about illegals. And the J.D. Vance made a point on illegals and the numbers and increasing in all across the board. And the host, one of the two hosts, actually fact-checked him, which was not supposed to be allowed during this debate. There will be no fact-checking.
Smart. I should know.
She fact-checked him, and she said, no, Senator Vance, just want to let you know right now.
Correct.
I just want to let you know right now that, yes, there are actually many Haitians that are in Ohio, the city in Ohio, and they're actually not legal citizens, or I forget what the point how she put it.
That goes back to the cats and dogs.
Right, but she said that they are actually legal in being here. They're not legal. You can't say they're legal. And then he stopped and he said, "Listen, I'm going to reply to this." And they were trying to cut him off, and he kept talking him through. And he made the points, and the points are correct. And they are not legal citizens. Okay, they're not legal citizens. And if you don't know this right now, the Harris administration, with Biden, created an app that if you are, let's say you live in Guatemala,
Right.
and you want asylum in the U.S. You want to, so you go on the app, you log on, you sign yourself in. The government created an app
to sign yourself.
They do 10,000 a day.
They're circumventing the system.
Correct. And so they come to the port of entry with open arms, and they just let them right in because they filled out the app on the app. They fill out the information on the app.
I think that's smart. That makes it way more efficient to get them in.
It's not efficient. Because what it has done is it doesn't allow the processes to go through with waiting periods, with gathering information.
They need to get asylum.
But
go now.
They don't need. Listen, most of these that are coming over right now there's no religious persecution. There's no political persecution. They're just getting out, and they're coming here now because they see that the free money is being handed out.
And they're putting them on buses and sending them to suburbs, or small cities, I would say, small cities, and they're getting bused right there directly because they come through right away, and
they get treated like kings. It's great.
And then you got to worry about your dogs and cats, So
I know that's what makes sense.
Start hiding them now, but that's the thing. I mean, talk about actually pulling facts out. Most everything that he pulled out is a statistical government fact, okay, right. or a research group fact. It's not made up. I mean, some of the stuff that Walz had mentioned is actually not true. Correct. It is made up. It is and is made up with sympathetic thought in mind. Right. Okay, right. being sympathetic to his party and to his state. Okay, because but a lot of the stuff is there's no actual number evidence to be able to prove what he's saying up on stage, and the hosts were okay, but they're still. I mean, they're shielding. Everything is shielded.
David Muir, though.
Everything. The David Muir interview was useless.
Yeah.
The David Muir interview was useless because Trump never really had a chance to put stuff out there in a light that he wanted to, because every 2 seconds they're throwing something back at him. Well, actually, Mr. President, no, crime is down. Are you kidding me? Crime is down?
Yeah.
Show me where crime is down.
Yeah.
Well, our fact checkers. Well, I have no time to fact check your fact checkers.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so you have a media system that is implicit in helping the Democratic Party try to overthrow this election and reduce the odds of this man becoming the next president and former and being now the next president of the United States.
That's what I said, Dave. I said this, Dave. There's no more you can do to him. He's been assassinated. Attempts happened twice. He's been impeached twice. I mean, what's next? I mean, he's a convicted felon. They sue him. They shoot him. They do everything they can to him. And he keeps coming back, and he doesn't care.
They're going to pull up a picture of him at a P. Diddy party.
No, I still.
Oh yeah, he'll be all dressed in white with a red tie.
He's gonna get arsenic.
Take that.
They're gonna digitally enhance the picture. He's gonna be all white suit with a red tie. It'll be Donald Trump at the P. Diddy party with a bottle of baby oil in his hand right here.
P. Diddy's off a suicide watch at least.
He is. I'm surprised. He should be dead by now. And they said the list is coming out. I can't wait to see that list.
Oh my God, I heard that. I heard they announced that.
Anticipation. Oh my God.
He kept the list.
One of the funniest. There's a TikTok. What do they call it? Like one of these
stories, reels. Memes.
It's not a reel. I guess it's like a meme, but you could put it within your own video. And basically it's like
someone's face going around.
No, it's sliding up behind your back, right? It slides up behind your neck.
Coming in the background.
Yeah.
P. Diddy coming in the background looking over your shoulder.
Yep. I see it. It's fantastic.
Hilarious. Absolutely
Fantastic.
hilarious.
But that doesn't mean P. Diddy's like gay or anything, right?
Well, I don't think it really matters, but bottom line, there was a lot of it. There was a lot of baloney on baloney action going on over there at the house.
Yeah. They were sword fighting.
I can't give you details. I wasn't there, but I'm sure you can.
I think that's in your part mind. Of the whole thing. They were doing that to young, not just to girls. Fighting. They weren't just taking advantage of the women. They were Bieber was part of this, supposedly part of this whole thing.
Well, that doesn't surprise me.
No, no, they took advantage of Bieber. I feel terrible.
Right.
So that's why he got crazy.
Yeah, he was a little bitch.
Okay, that's why he's a little.
Yeah, you've heard of being on the down low, right?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, that's a I think that's
documentary.
That's a African American term for being a gay male.
Oh, okay.
Being on the down low.
Being on the down low.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But when you sword fight, I always thought it was like jousting. You're saying it's a sexual act?
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, Steve. I think you understand where that. No. At your house, you back up 4 or 5 steps from your gay lover, and you charge him.
This video is going to be able to be monetized.
Well, no, I thought sword fighting was like
no way it's going to be able to be monetized.
I thought it was going to be.
This one's a freebie.
I thought it was
6 cents.
I know. I'm serious.
Nambla.
I'm going to get a strike.
I thought it was jousting.
No. Okay.
No,
all right.
No.
Thank you.
It's a sexual act.
Thank you.
No, I'm just confused.
How many more days are left till the election? Do we know that offhand? Do you know that offhand?
It's only a month.
So we're at 30 days to the election?
Wow, right. It's October. So yeah. Ooh, that is fast.
Tuesday.
Wow.
Super Tuesday.
It is.
You have a lot of money.
But you know what, though? Thank God. I need this to be over. Either way, it doesn't matter to me. My life will go on. Some people will die. They will stop dead in their tracks and have a heart attack when they figure out one way or another who's winning, right? Some people will riot. Some people will rebel. Some people may storm the Capitol again.
They rioted last
Whatever it is, exactly. So it doesn't matter. For me, I don't care. I'm probably along with 95% of the people in this country. Life goes on. Okay,
so
life goes on.
Even if Kamala wins,
right?
That's not going to affect you.
Not at all. Pizza.
You're going to go to work
pizza prices just go up. They go up another $5 or $10 a pie. That's it. I got to be able to afford what I'm being charged. No protest.
Is eventually the longshoreman strike?
Yes. That's big.
Would that eventually affect you? Although I heard that most food is in America.
Most food is produced here. We'd be fine with most everything. There may be a few items here. There are a lot of the imported goods, olive oil, olives, things like that you may get from overseas. That would be the things that are impacted the most.
Sushi.
I have no idea. No, sushi is just salmon. Yeah. Yes. Okay. Right. So. I would think some items will definitely be affected. It will take a while because there is stored inventory, so you may not feel it for the first month, but after that, you'll start to really see it. You won't see it on the shelves. I won't see it in my store, but whatever. You know what? Wow. We'll adapt. We'll get it. I'm a nationalist, Dave. I'm a nationalist. I believe in insulating myself first and then helping other people because I can't help anybody else until I am fully healed. So I'm a nationalist, and we should produce everything in this country. We should monitor everything. We should purchase everything in this country. We should definitely take care of ourselves first. And then whatever I got left over, I'll put it in the donation can. I have no problem.
So if everything goes well, you'll donate, and then I'll get a doggy daycare.
That is not going to happen.
Oh, you'll donate. You will donate.
I agree. Right, that is part of the issue. Is that in different, not just the issue, obviously with the longshoremen, and I wonder. By the way, I understand their plight absolutely, but I wonder in the long run because I saw a video of and the thing they're fighting is automation. One of the main things they're fighting is. But I saw a video on China how they do their ports, and it's all done through automation.
Automation, yes.
So I wonder how much. I wonder in the long run, not the short run. The short run, I think they'll get done what they need to get done, and they'll be back to they're going to negotiate that process. I would hope fairly quickly, but I do think in the long run they could be in a situation similar to horse and buggy to car type of thing, right? Because if automation if automation really. If it's being done for all their ports in China or a lot of their ports in China, that means that at some point, the automation will be the most efficient and cost-effective way of doing it. And that's one of the things they're fighting against. And I support, because they feel like those jobs are not, for the most part, jobs that are people with college educations, those people can make really good living, and it's not a college educated job.
Right.
Whereas,
it's hard labor.
Well, if it becomes automation, then that job becomes behind on a computer, and that takes away those people's jobs and becomes a college educated person's job, where they're basically working not just on a computer but developing programs and moving those things around. Not that I'm pretty sure a person who isn't college educated probably can handle that too. It doesn't seem like they're doing much other than moving joysticks around, but I do think that there is that is a fundamental. AI and automation is a fundamental question as how it begins to affect people down the line, because that was the whole argument. I can't remember the guy who was running, but who had thought that in the long run that was going to be an issue down the line. I don't know when it becomes fully an issue, but it could be an issue for the ports at some point in the near future, where they might just cut out. I don't know how that works, but they could cut out the union completely.
Dave, have you seen a company named Boston Scientific?
Yes, absolutely.
Yes. So they've developed full robots that do full somersaults, armed.
Yeah, you can see it.
I mean, it's a full-size human-sized robot, but it's made out of metal, out of steel, and it'll take 250-pound toolboxes and walk up 6 flights of stairs with them. Yeah. On a ladder.
I saw.
You know what I mean? So. We're a generation away, maybe. Probably. From we talked about socialism is coming anyways. What's going to happen is that companies will realize the upfront cost will be a lot, but we're going to staff everything with robots. We're going to send humans home.
You pay it once.
We're going to send, but then the government's going to say, "Wow, everybody's getting fired," but we're getting these companies that are so efficient, and we can either draw money from them or tie them into the government. So, bottom line, we're going to send everybody a check to their house.
So it's going to be anarchy.
Well, no, it's not going to be anarchy. We're going to be happy. Because you're going to get a check to your house for $1,000 or $2,000 a month, and you'll be satisfied with that. You can, if you have 2-3 people in the home and you skimp and you just you eat peyote leaves or whatever, you can make it on that. But bottom line, there is no way that the government will not evade this futuristic look, because it's only beneficial to them, because they have the ability to slice the throat of every citizen by not sending them a check.
Well, right.
Once you are controlled by the almighty dollar, and you can't find another job, right? The government won't allow you to create another job, because they'll create so many policies and regulations that it's not worth your time of day to even try anything. Bottom line, you are dependent of the government. That's socialism.
Is Kamala for the AI stuff?
Listen. They are for whatever allows human beings to relax and to feel good. And what that is not work.
Joy.
Not work. People.
The 4-day work week.
That's what makes this strike so interesting, because this is really the first group of people to say, I want in the contract that you will not replace us with automation. And yes. So now the contract runs out at a certain point. Even if they sign this contract, I think it's would be like an 8-year deal. At the end of 8 years, then that would be revisited. And that point, there may be. That's my point. That there may be at that point
no point. Everybody, sure.
No point of return at that point.
That's why 58% of the Teamsters are not voting for the Democratic ticket. They're voting for Trump.
Would you ever hire a robot to work in the pizzeria? I mean, would you buy one if it was more efficient?
No, because it wouldn't be. I'd have to have a whole bunch of them.
Oh,
I'd have to have a whole bunch of them. So my startup cost may be so much that it may not be worth it. I would, in a way, looking at it looking at it from a business side, it's always much better to have automation.
Sure.
You don't have a workers' comp disability problem. You don't have an HR problem. You don't have liability for them.
Have HR?
No. Yeah, it's me. Oh. So you don't have any of this. You have no issues. They don't show up late. They don't need to drink. They don't need to eat. They don't need to talk. They don't need to use their cell phone.
Yeah,
they don't need anything. They just plug them in and go.
Right.
Okay.
That's easier to deal with. Yeah.
Right. But on the other hand, I step back and I actually look at it and say, that's the end.
That's
That
the
is
end of
the end.
humanity.
When that happens, that's the end. If people don't realize that, I mean, maybe that's why Captain Kirk and Spock went in the space Starship Enterprise to explore different universes. Because bottom line, back home there wasn't shit going on.
Yeah,
right? They're automated. Right. Remember, the door used to open up and a tray of food would come out. Right? Who's making that stuff? Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I think at that point, we're and everyone's intellectual on the ship. You know, they're all talking fancy words on the ship. But bottom line, when the ship breaks down, I'm sure they got to bring it back into port, but it's probably a robot doing the maintenance.
No robot.
So to me, that is the end
of humanity.
Well, of most of it, because now you're just taking the best of the best to go somewhere else and explore. You're not taking, Bob down the corner is not going to be on the next ship out of here to try to find the next planet, right?
Well, the mission to Mars that could work out.
Let me tell you something.
Well, they are. They're going to Mars.
Yeah,
they're building a space station.
They're going to have to. The sun's going to burn out in a couple thousand years. But bottom line, that will be the end of us, of what we know.
Right.
Okay. And it'll be another.
And that's what the government wants.
The government
send us a check.
The government wants to control and nothing else.
Yeah.
That's why they put in all these policies.
Right.
After a while, they're saying they're doing it for your benefit.
They call them useless eaters.
Right. Some policies are very useful. Most of them are garbage.
Right.
They call the people who they have to support. I've read a bunch. They call them useless eaters. Basically, that's what we would become if automation took over completely and AI and all that. Is basically we would be useless. We'd be like, think about your dog at home. You gotta go and feed your dog.
I like my dog.
Your dog doesn't do any work for you. Your dog hangs around. You throw a toy to him. You take him out to go shit and piss, and then he comes back in. He gives you hugs, and that's what basically
humans are going to be.
That's what they would be reducing us to.
We'd be. Oh wow.
That's what would we be?
They take me out to piss and shit and feed me.
That's it. Did you see the video of Jimmy Carter's 100th birthday?
No,
they wheeled him out They wheeled him out in one of those lean back wheelchairs. You know, you can kick back all the way, and they had some planes flying overhead. And God bless him, great. Listen, whether you agreed with him presidency wise or not, whatever, he's a good man. I think he really and honestly truly believes in doing good.
He did.
So he's 100.
He negotiated.
He's 100. He's 100. So now he's kicked back. His mouth is wide open. You know when they get to be 100 and their mouth is wide open all the time. He's like this. He's breathing up. He's not functioning. No signals. He's 100. And I swear to God, when they first wheeled him out and I didn't see the caption, I thought it was Joe Biden.
Well, does he have dementia?
I thought it was Joe Biden. Huh?
Does he have dementia or anything like that?
Who knows what he's got? He's 100, man.
I think he's got all his. I think he's been in hospice for a long.
He was in hospice. That's correct. Yeah.
Oh, he was.
I think he might be still in hospice, right?
He's the oldest.
Yes. Over a year, he's been in hospice.
Yep. Yeah, over a year. My God, the hospice workers are like, can't wait to get rid of this guy.
I thought you're only allowed 6 months in hospice.
Well, he's out. I don't know what. Yeah, he is amazing that he's lived as long as he has and gone through the things he beat brain cancer.
He did for sure.
He did for sure.
Wouldn't it be great if he just his last words were, "I endorse Donald Trump."
Well, is he going to vote? Yeah. Will they let him vote?
Yeah,
he can vote. They can wheel him to the lever. I mean, what the hell? Why not?
Okay. So, Dave, we'll give you the kind of last word here on the vice presidential debate last night, as far as swaying voters, clear-cut winner. Did it make a difference? And long-term impact of it. Do you see any of that?
Obviously, I'm conservative, so I'm going to be in Vance's corner. I think it did. Everything I've read as well, not just what I saw, but everything I've read seems like it may have swayed some of those voters, which I think was important. Usually, the vice presidential debate does almost nothing. But
nobody watches. Yeah.
In this case, I think it did help Trump tremendously, and I think that it could, with such a short time especially with him not being able to debate Kamala again on like a fair, like a Fox environment or something.
Yeah,
I think this really gave you
gave him some momentum. Yeah,
gave him some momentum, and that was the biggest thing, is to stop her momentum. and to give him momentum. I think they did that. I think that as we get closer and closer, I think a lot of people who may have been on the fence or maybe even thought, maybe I'll vote for Kamala, I think they will get cold feet when they get into that room, because you think to yourself, wait a minute, she doesn't say
judge.
anything, like stand for anything per se. So, what will the country become? I mean, you could see just with what's going on in the Middle East, like you don't have the right person in charge. You could escalate. You won't even have to worry about automation, because we could escalate to nuclear war so quickly that automation won't even be an issue. That's the thing that to me, if I looked at one thing, like how could we get, just obviously we want to get our house in order, right? Like in Frank's, on the nationalist side of it, we want to get our house in order. That's the number one priority. But we also don't want to be in World War III. So we need a president to go in and work on solving some of these issues.
Exactly.
He's got to be, and I cannot see Kamala going in and doing that. And I just see a continuous escalation, in multiple different areas. Other people are going to get into the fray, other escalating areas, we don't know all the areas that are other conflicts that are going on. Other areas have other conflicts, and they will be all empowered to take chances. And that's I mean, manipulating our government, like Ukraine has done a little bit here and there, and obviously I feel for the citizens of Ukraine, but the how the situations worked, how Biden originally tried to back off the Israelis, when this whole thing could have probably been taken care of a year ago, almost a year ago. And I that's the whole thing that I think Trump will go in and hey, I green light this, get it done. If you don't get it done in this time period, then that's it. Like I think there are things that he can do. He will negotiate in the areas that I think he thinks he can really negotiate. I don't know, Frank. What do you think?
Dave, this administration in their first month or two freed up $6 billion of Iranian-held funds that were frozen in international accounts because of their terroristic activities. So they released the $6 billion. Okay. And then there's a great video that's out right now, before and after, with Secretary of State, whoever his name is. There, Blinken? No, he's the Blinken is the Secretary of State, isn't he?
Yeah.
That's how much I know the administration. So. In the beginning, he said in 2001, when they released the funds, we will track. There's no way anything can happen from these funds except humanitarian and inside national spending to help the people of Iran and their republic.
2021, you mean? You mean
2021? They said this, correct. Right. So they said we will track everything. There is not a transaction that cannot be tracked by us to be able to control, to know that the spending is going correctly to the right spots.
Absolutely.
Right. Just had a video this past week. One of the people asked a question. One of the interviewers asked a question. There were recently 2 purchases at a Zurich bank by Iran, and transactions went through. And his answer was, I'm sorry, I have no information on that right now. I'll have to get back to you on that. So, it just shows you the stupidity of this coddle, hug, loving first administration.
Enjoy.
You need to suspect everyone. Remember the saying, keep your enemies, keep your friends close, keep your enemies closer, right? Why do you think Israel is 0.0 blasting every terrorist leader that is out there? They're hitting with tremendous precision. They have plants inside Hezbollah, inside Hamas. They have plants everywhere that can tell every movement of every terrorist. One by one, they will eliminate all of them.
Biden said
that's the other thing that is amazing, Frank, is that we have so little intelligence on stuff.
Well, I trust
it's mind-blowing. Like, what happened to the CIA? What happened to the FBI? Like, they were once admired organizations. They are now organizations that have no leadership, don't have any guidance, don't have, I don't even know what the support levels are to get things done the right way, but it's it's shocking. Like, we have no intelligence on things. Like, how
well,
Awful.
it's not important. I don't
Awful.
think
it's absolutely I mean, you watch, the old James Bond movies, right? Like, James Bond was not just a movie that we all enjoyed, and
he
but
was a legend.
it represented how originally from the Cold War, but how we gained intelligence on the inside of these areas. We sent people inside.
We infiltrated. Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
We sent people inside on a mass scale too, not just on one guy. We did it on a mass scale. And that's the thing. And it's not about eliminating leaders or any of that. It's about gaining intelligence so we know what's going on. And I think that's one of the things we really
lost big time. Yeah. Well, it's about feeling joy.
That's what we want. Joy.
They just want joy.
But anyway,
right, wrap it up. I'm going to feel a lot of joy as soon as you wrap this up.
All right. For the voice of reason, Frank Cristiano.
Always.
And Dave Schuman, thank you for shaving your beard. Our viewers will be thrilled about that. I am the best host in the universe, Steve Cully. Remember, when life gives you lemons, don't make lemonade. Take 2 oranges and throw them back at life.